The Ukraine war stands apart from other conflicts due to its unique and complex dynamics. Unlike typical wars between two nations, this conflict is essentially NATO versus Russia, with Ukraine as the battleground. The involvement of numerous influential actors from the West, such as Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, BlackRock, and JPMorgan Chase, complicates the situation further. The sheer number of stalled peace processes sets this war apart. Unlike other conflicts where warring parties eventually come to the negotiating table, peace efforts in Ukraine have been repeatedly thwarted. Notably, Western-initiated peace processes often exclude Russia, a critical party to the conflict, which is a baffling approach to diplomacy. Ukraine's demands for Russia to return all its lost territories highlight another unusual aspect of this war. Typically, in conflicts, the losing side does not dictate terms, yet Ukraine continues to set stringent preconditions for peace. Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered explanations for the failure of peace processes, emphasizing that excluding Russia from negotiations and setting unrealistic demands are primary reasons. As the world watches, it becomes clear that this conflict's resolution requires a more inclusive and pragmatic approach to peace talks.
Welcome to TFIGlobal, the antidote to mass delusion.
Russia has never ruled out talks for a peaceful settlement of the Ukraine conflict, but any discussions must consider the interests of all parties involved, including Moscow, President Vladimir Putin has said. In an interview with Xinhua news agency on Wednesday ahead of his visit to China this week, Putin commended Beijing's peace initiative from the Ukraine conflict, saying it showed the genuine desire of our Chinese friends to help stabilize the situation in the region. The proposal, first released by Beijing last February, calls for a ceasefire, quoting, respecting the sovereignty of all countries and abandoning the Cold War mentality, end of quote. It also stipulates that the security of a region should not be achieved by strengthening or expanding military blocs. The Russian president praised Beijing for promoting the idea of indivisible security, noting that these principles could ensure that Russia's concerns are not neglected while paving the way for a long-term and sustainable peace. Unfortunately, neither Ukraine nor its Western patrons support these initiatives, Putin lamented, adding that they are not ready for a dialogue based on mutual consideration of each other's interests, which would address the underlying causes of the crisis. We are seeking a comprehensive, sustainable, and just settlement of this conflict through peaceful means. We are open to a dialogue on Ukraine, but such negotiations must take into account the interests of all countries involved in the conflict, including Russia's. Putin added that any dialogue must also involve a substantive discussion on global stability and security guarantees for Russia's opponents and naturally for Russia itself. The main problem, he continued, is the reliability of those guarantees given that some states, quote, seek to substitute the world order based on international law with an order based on certain rules, end of quote. According to Putin, certain countries continue to talk about rules which no one has ever seen and which apparently tend to change depending on the current political situation. Putin also accused Western elites of stubbornly working to punish Russia, isolate and weaken it, by providing Kiev with military and financial aid and enforcing quote-unquote illegal sanctions against Moscow. In addition, they are turning a blind eye to the resurgence of Nazism and to Ukraine-supported terrorist attacks in our territory, the president added. The Russian leader recalled that Moscow engaged in talks with Kiev early in the conflict, which resulted in a draft peace agreement that provided security guarantees for Ukraine. However, after Russia withdrew its forces from Kiev, Ukraine broke off the engagement because it heeded Western advice to keep fighting to achieve Russia's strategic defeat, Putin added. The urgency for a comprehensive and just settlement is paramount. Putin's emphasis on inclusive dialogue and security guarantees reflects the need for a stable resolution, ignoring Russia's concerns while pushing unilateral agendas will only prolong the conflict and instability. It is crucial to approach peace talks with a genuine commitment to address the interests of all involved parties, ensuring a sustainable and lasting peace.